In the city of San Jose, we have a population of a little under 1 million. We're a very diverse city, even by California standards. Only 41% of the population are English language only speakers. About 21% speak Spanish, and 26% speak a variety of Asian languages, including Vietnamese, Tagalog, Mandarin, among others. So in 2023, we had started in-person interpreters at all of our council meetings, but sometimes we would need to move the Spanish-speaking residents to a separate room to access that interpretation, which was not a good look because it looked like we were segregating out a population based on their language. When we had in-person interpreters, we had to have two for every language because they need to be able to give each other breaks. So we routinely would have two Spanish interpreters, two Vietnamese interpreters, and then two people to check out the headsets to all of those people and to manage all of the headsets. So we were paying for, 6 people per meeting to provide interpretation in only 2 languages. And that was pretty expensive. That was about $350,000 for 1 year worth of interpretation in only 2 languages. So we had heard about Wordly. I talked with some language access experts. I'm not an expert in language access. I know that people can have concerns of does the population have the technology to access their interpretation? And the language access experts I talked with said yes, most people have smartphones. Most people, they go out into the community during COVID, where they were providing services to people, and said almost everybody has some sort of smartphone. So don't worry about that. So we went ahead and did an RFP. Wordly was the number one choice, and we partnered with them to do the real-time AI translations during the public meetings. So the best part was it was a huge cost savings. We went from 317,000, I think, was our final bill for one fiscal year. I can't remember the exact amount we're spending on Wordly, but I think it's in the realm of 80,000. We have a lot of meetings. We have council meetings every single week. They start at 1:30. They typically last until at least 6 o'clock in the evening, sometimes later. So that was also an issue with our in-person interpreters, was we never quite knew when our meeting was going to end. So we might book them till 8 and then the meeting ends at 6, or we book them until 8 and the meeting ends at 10. And they have to leave at 8 because that's what they were booked for. And then they would have to scramble to find a replacement who could come in at 8. So it was like a huge stressor for us to make sure we had people in person. I don't need to worry about that with Wordly. I have over 60 languages. I don't need to worry about a last minute request for a language like, say, Tamil, because Wordly is going to cover that for me. It increases the ability of, like, the public now knows I can come to a council meeting. I can participate in any language I want to. The more we've done this, the more people we see attending the meetings, viewing the videos, because we're able to use one of the Spanish language to feed it to a YouTube channel. So now we have an English channel and a Spanish channel on YouTube. And that's where we went from 0 viewers, because we didn't have a Spanish language channel, to I think we had 800 at one of our high interest meetings viewing the Spanish channel. So it's a huge increase from basically 0 to 800 viewing a Spanish language channel. We didn't realize there was even a market for that or a need for that. Like, we're as open as we want to be with people. It's just one of those things we didn't think about. And what we also like about Wordly is we can customize that glossary. So, like, we have an organization in San Jose called Luna, and it's, I think, Latinos United, I think maybe North America. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's Luna. I can teach Wordly to never translate Luna into the word moon, because I know when people are going to talk about Luna in San Jose, 99% of the time they're not talking about the moon. So I like that I can kind of train the glossary with our local terms and our local organizations, the spellings of names. So like our mayor is Matt Mahan. I can make sure when it pops up there, it's always going to be spelled the correct way. So I do like that it gives us a lot of flexibility. Another part that we really liked about Wordly is it's apolitical. We don't have to worry about the perception of bias in interpretations because it's artificial intelligence. It has no emotions about it. It's just going to translate what people say. And the beautiful thing is when we're watching the transcripts, is to watch it sort of fix itself as it gets the context of what they're saying. So it's not a just word for word translation. It understands what people are trying to say, and it interprets it correctly, which is so cool and so exciting. And I'm like, even if I'm not interpreting for anybody, it makes preparing the minutes so much easier to have. Like sometimes I can't understand what somebody said, but Wordly understood what they said. So it's awesome. I'm a huge fan. Sorry, I start to gush and I'll start to ramble about Wordly because it's one of my favorite products ever. And then we would have complaints from some of our council members who speak other languages that our interpreters they felt weren't being super accurate. I don't need to worry about that with Wordly. As I said, no emotion. It's just interpreting what people say. The council member can't say, "Oh, they're spinning it to be like against this project or to be for this project." There's no spin. So far, the public has been pretty receptive. I meet quarterly with a group of organizations that go out into the community to get their feedback on how I'm serving the public. Is there anything their communities need to have better access into our city government? Because the goal of the city clerk's office is to make sure the public can access their government. And the response so far has been positive with Wordly. I'll say cautiously positive because I think people have a tendency to be like a little bit afraid. But in the council meetings, I love that people can just talk. They don't need to worry about if the interpreter's there. They don't have to stop and let somebody interpret them. You can just let your ideas flow. A lot of times, somebody will be there and an in-person interpreter will stop them so they can interpret what they've said. And it kind of throws off the speaker. Wordly doesn't do that. So we have all of our agendas have the information of how to access Wordly on the agendas. We use it for our weekly city council meetings and our weekly council committee meetings. Those are subcommittees of the city council. So those are on all of the agendas. And we have signs throughout the council chambers with the QR code and a little graphic that Wordly actually provides. If you sign up for the service, there's like a little graphic on how to access Wordly. And then we also, in our council chambers, we have a large screen. And so at the beginning of the meeting, we'll have like the QR code on one of the big screens. The other big screen, we split it between English, Vietnamese, and Spanish. So I think Kirk just showed the little display image, but we've got it with 3 different languages. On each one we do a slightly different background color to distinguish it. And then on our timer slides, for every timer slide we also include the Wordly QR code with the description of how to get onto Wordly at the meeting in case they missed the posters around the room, in case they missed the agenda. It's right there on a giant screen throughout the meeting. As far as marketing, before when we started this, it's mostly through the agendas and through word of mouth. I met with different organizations and asked them to help get the word out to their members, gave the graphics to the city council members that they could include in their newsletters because they reach more members of the public than the city clerk does. Most people don't know what the city clerk does, but they do know what their council members do. So I did rely on the city council members and outside organizations to assist with the the marketing. And then we had a press release that got picked up by multiple publications, including both local and internationally. So people got to see that the City of San Jose was offering this. One of the misconceptions is that it's like difficult to use. And it's not difficult to use. It's super easy. You know, again, we have it set up where they can use their own devices. They don't have to use their own devices. I think another misconception is it means we don't care, because if you care, you bring in-person interpreters, and we do care. Prior to 2023, we only had interpreters on demand, like only when requested. In which case, sometimes we can't even find somebody of that language, because there are a limited number of interpreters, of human interpreters in the different languages in the Bay Area. We had one language, we'd have to go to Sacramento to find interpreters. And even then we weren't able to get people on time. So I think the misconception that we don't care, or this is somehow like lowering customer service, is a big one, because we're not lowering customer service. We have 60 languages on demand. No, you don't have to think ahead. You don't have to ask me a week before the meeting to find some language that's maybe not as common. Spanish interpreters and Vietnamese interpreters have tended to be pretty easy for us to get, but other languages have been difficult. So I think that's, for me, the biggest one